Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, where I make art and talk about my favorite topics of the week. And today, I am back with two new Marvel Rivals design concepts. As you already know, I am deep in my X-Men era, which I would argue started because of Rivals in the first place, adding a lot of X-Men characters to their roster this last year. So, the first hero I have for you today is someone we have technically already seen from them, and has been teased many times, but here's how I would design Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, in Marvel Rivals. Cyclops is also a very popular character, so it really is no surprise that a lot of other Rivals fan artists and designers had already imagined Scott in their styles, so I had my work cut out for me. I won't lie, growing up watching X-Men Evolution, Scott was never one of the characters that I really thought or cared that much about. To my younger self, he was just the regular good guy character, with a relatively basic superpower, and I found him boring. That being said, I do have a greater appreciation and understanding of him as a character now, even though I still wouldn't consider him the most interesting. Anyway, most recently, I watched Wolverine and the X-Men for the first time, and so I took a bit of inspiration from that series for my Cyclops design. The show takes a different approach to the character, giving him less of a leadership role, and instead putting him through his emo arc. He wears a long trench coat in that show, and I wanted to use a similar silhouette. I wanted my version of Scott to communicate that he is someone experienced. The great thing about coming up with concepts for these characters for Marvel Rivals is playing along with the concept of the game. Since the Rivals storyline is mainly about the time stream entanglement, pulling characters from different timelines, there can be many ways to interpret a character, including their worlds and their experiences. I sort of imagine this version of Cyclops to be someone who has been through a lot, but has come out the other side a better leader for it. Admittedly, not a crazy take, but this was the idea that I wanted to expand on for my design. Pulling from different Cyclops designs over the years and blending them together, to me, this Scott is an amalgamation of all of his experiences that he has carefully pieced together and refined to become the best version of himself he can be. I kept that idea in mind when choosing the color palette as well. Obviously, since my inspiration come from his emo era, I used a lot of dark grays, but underneath that darker exterior, you can see more of that bright blue of the classic X-Men uniform. All that aside, like I mentioned earlier, there are already a ton of Cyclops fan designs, and I mainly wanted to make sure mine looked different from everyone else's. But then again, classics are classics for a reason, and I couldn't help adding the yellow-gold visors and red accents. Although he may not be arriving to the game this season, I'm sure he will be very soon, and I can't wait to see his official design when it drops. Now, if we are sticking to the X-Men theming for this video, why not make it all about the original team, First Class? Our next hero today is ICEMAN, aka Bobby Drake. Now, I'm sorry to say, but I also didn't used to find his character that interesting. Now, the powers? Absolutely cool as hell, pun intended. But to me, he was just Johnny Storm with a different elemental superpower. So I stand by the opinion that revealing Bobby as a closeted gay man was an improvement to his character. The X-Men have always been sort of a catch-all allegory for minorities, including queer and the LGBT community. Now, I don't believe Bobby himself was originally written to be a gay character, but by nature of the mutant allegory, I think there are moments that can be interpreted as such. So, while a lot of fans may see this retcon of the character as an erasure of his past relationships, we can also choose to see it as recontextualization. Many real closeted people may choose to enter relationships with the opposite sex as a way to protect themselves from discrimination. Particularly Bobby's experience as a mutant and the discrimination that follows that part of his identity, he would not want to reveal the other part of himself that he knows would make him face even more prejudice. I also find it interesting that Bobby is the one character of the First Class that could pass as human, as long as he doesn't use his powers. Beast and Angel both have physical mutations. Scott has to permanently wear ruby quartz glasses or a visor, which is, at the very least, kind of weird for someone who doesn't know anything about him. And Jean, although technically her mutation is invisible as well, struggles to control her powers. So, in some ways, Bobby's story as a mutant aligns pretty similarly with the queer experience right from the beginning. I also find it ironic that in the movies, the scene with Bobby's parents parallel a very common coming out experience predating the comic that outed him by nearly a decade. Anyway, all that to say, I would love to see more queer characters in the Rivals roster, and I especially want to see an adaptation of Iceman that includes this part of his character. I don't particularly expect a lot from the game that only let Angela mention her wife's name twice, but I can dream. Okay, so I'll take this last minute to talk about my design, since I just spent most of it just thinking about how nice it is to see more queer characters in the spotlight, but I based the face and hair a bit on Connor Story, who played Ilya Rozanov in Heated Rivalry. Because that show is about gay romance and has ice in it. That's it. I thought it was funny to do that. The costume itself is based on the 2021 to 24 X-Men comic design though, and also this outfit worn by NCT's Jeno during a performance, which I saw and thought it looked like it would make a great X-Men uniform. Originally, I tried to incorporate it into Scott's design, but because I couldn't figure it out, now it's been reinterpreted into a tighter fitting uniform design for Iceman. So here are the final renders for Scott and Bobby as designed in the Marvel Rivals style, and I really do hope we see them in the real thing soon. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any suggestions for other video ideas, you can let me know in the comments below. Follow me on Instagram at KaylinVerse to see the rest of my work, and if you want to support me so I can keep making more videos, you can subscribe or donate to my Ko-fi, or find my stuff for purchase on Redbubble and Imprint. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.